in the CHAIRQUISITION. We are reviewing Massive Chalice today. You can check that out at massivechalice.com. It's developed by Double Fine on the Buddha engine, their own in-house tech. You can pick it up for $19.99 with stinky space bucks or space euros. Or if you're in Canada like me, you gotta pay $21.99 because they actually do have regional pricing over here. Go us! What is it? Massive Chalice is a strategy game set in an epic timeline from Double Fine Productions. As the glorious Immortal Ruler Kim Jong-un, you take command of the nation's heroes. Forge heroic marriages, strengthen your bloodline, and battle a mysterious enemy known as the Cadence in a 300-year war. Basically, it's XCOM with Pokemon breeding. We'll get into that a little bit more. The CHAIRQUISITION awaits! 1 chair means that it's trash, 2 chairs means that's meh, 3 chairs means that it's good, and 4 chairs means that it's really good. We also have our categories of doom, mixed with working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So in the event that I get a kernel panic, let's try and make it so that's after the recording of this. Ben, did it make with the working?
Did it make with the working on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS 4K displayed 980 powered box of business? Unfortunately, it did. Nothing went wrong, so I was forced to play yet another turn-based strategy game. But we'll get into that later. 4 chairs!
Yep. As with most Double Fine games, works out of the box. No fuss, no muss, 4 chairs.
Yeah, when a tactics game has trouble maintaining 60 frames per second on a GTX 970 Strix and an FX 8370E at 4 GHz and 2 Samsung Evo SSDs and YOLO RAID, you know that there's probably something wrong. It's because your IO
bus is saturated.
There's probably something wrong with the engine, which, you know, since it's a tactics game, as long as it's not jerking around below 30 frames per second, I'll give it a pass. 4 chairs.
Alright, so that's 4 chairs for mixed with the working. Up next, the shinny and the sounds. Ben did it shin.
And did it sound? Well, at 3840 by 2160, it manages to hold a steady 30 FERPs using your standard anti-aliasing, enabling SSA even at 2x will curb stomp that business down to about 15, so you might not want to try it. Like most Double Fine games, your color palette is a billion shades of brown peppered with the occasional pastel business. That's just how they roll. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not a huge fan of the art style. I think the best way I can describe said art style would be maybe a 3D Broken Age with an extremely low poly count. And as expected, the voice acting is impeccable. It's brilliant. Double Fine always delivers on that business. It's great. I genuinely love it. But take that with a grain of chainsaw, because unfortunately, it's mixed with Double Fine humor. It's like regular humor, except forced and absolutely cringeworthy. Just not of these days. So I'm going to give the shiny and sounds 2 chairs. Bit middle of the road there.
Yeah, well, it's a Double Fine game, so like Ben said, voice acting is awesome. Double Fine humor doesn't bother me so much. Yeah, it can be a bit cringy at times, but I just more or less tune that out. The one thing I wish they really kind of did more with was the 2 personalities of the Chalice, because it had sort of the there's no loading and unloading in a white zone. Don't give me that white zone shit, Peggy, thing from Airplane. That they kind of had the back and forth. I thought you could actually get some genuine laughs out of that. The visuals are typical for Double Fine's house style. I mean, if you look at stuff like even Brutal, going back so far as Brutal Legend, Psychonauts, Broken Age, and this the Cave, they all have that sort of similar semi-angular head-shaped. It's very much Double Fine's house style. I personally have no problem with it. The color palette is a bit brown, but again, no real issues. I will say anything beyond SSA does just completely murder performance. It runs fairly well. I didn't actually. I think I had the frame rate counter off from Steam since I was recording Dragon, but it seemed to be moving at an acceptable frame rate. No herky jerks or anything like that. So I'll give it 3 cheers.
Yeah, there is a considerable amount of voice acting in this game, and as Jordan and Ben already mentioned, it is top of the line, as usual. The aforementioned Double Fine humor is there for whatever it's worth, I have to agree with Jordan at the start, having the two personalities of the Chalice kind of going at each other. That was fun, but after you get, like, say, halfway into the game, you start to find it a bit repetitious. They're always repeating the same lines over and over and over. It's annoying. The graphics, I found out, will glitch out if you alt-tab out of the game and back in. You'll have some weird artifacts on the screen. You'll have to alt-tab back out and then back in for it to sort of fix itself. So for that, I have to dig at 1 chair, and that's 3.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for Shiny and Sands. Up next is Control. And for a point-and-click game, we're going to go so in-depth.
It is very in-depth because you pull out your yellow swag EP and Extender 9000 or a regular G-Series Logitech Dribble. Either way, however you want to name it, it's point-and-click shocker. So you point and you click. It's Double Fine. That's what they know how to do. They know how to let you point and click, then things happen after that. My only legitimate beef organ with this entire business is the complete lack of free-range camera movement. You can move in quadrants. You 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter. You hold it down, it'll still do that pause. There's no, I want to look at it from this way at the top because I need to see who's doing what. So this is not going to happen for you, Brad. Outside of that, everything else is pretty neat sauce. Mine, also because of that, it's going to lose a chair. 3, and you got to keep in mind, I don't know. Maybe this is a common thing in turn-based strategy games. Who knows? I just didn't like it.
XCOM does it.
Yeah, XCOM does it. The one issue I had with the camera thing, and it was really this one gripe, is there are a couple situations where the objects in the map are angled so that no matter how you rotate the screen, it's always at that weird fucking angle where you can't click or see something important like an enemy placement or a square that you should occupy that allows you to more effectively use your limited movements. Yeah, but the controls are ultimately just point and click. There are some hotkeys. Pedro, you made some mentions about some unit-specific hotkeys.
Yes.
I was just using the ones for moving the map around, and it worked fine. XCOM has, I think, more or less the same control bindings. Usually in strategy games, I like to take a minute during the control sections to discuss the turn-based strategy mechanics. And I'll go into this a bit more in fun, but it's actually fairly well thought out. The various classes are a bit weirdly named, so it can be if you haven't seen them before, trying to figure out what they do is a bit odd, because you would think there's something called a brutalist. What does that do? Maybe he brutalizes people? No, it's an advanced alchemist, because it's spelled brew as in like I want a beer after drinking this game because I drink electricity. Yes. Anyways, 3 chairs for controls. Running on too long, Pedro.
Yeah, so you click and clicky things happen. There are supposedly hotkeys, like Jordan already mentioned, for specific actions, like turning the camera around, centering the camera on the character who is currently waiting to take a turn. Those keys are usually mapped to Q, E, R, and F. And those happen to be the very same keys that I have mapped on the special buttons on the sides of my mouse here. See those? Yeah. So, this is the first Linux game that outright refuses to recognize these buttons on my mouse. Even The Elder Scrolls Online, played through wide, recognizes those keys with the correct bindings. What the hell? So, for me, for controls, I have to give it 3 chairs.
And that's 3 chairs total for control. And now our final category, where Ben will tell you how much he loves turn-based strategy. Fun.
Oh my god, I love it so much. I give him all the time. No, that was not Invisible Dicks.
I'm disappointed.
I am. Just bear with me on this one. Turn-based strategy, don't like it. You take a shot at somebody, you miss, point blank, then you wait. Never been a fan of that. But I put a full on into this. I got my achievements and badges to prove that I did. I didn't just leave it running. Thinking, then maybe this is the one that will make you change your mind. And I kind of actually thought for a moment it might be, because I was like, well, I've never really seen turn-based strategy done by Double Fine. Maybe it'll be a lighter, more comical type thing. Maybe I'll be able to get into it. It'll introduce me to a new genre that I just absolutely loathe. That didn't really happen. Actually, I should have been thinking about, oh, right. Remember that real-time strategy game, Brutal Legend they tried to make? Yeah, that sucked. So, I don't know why I had those hopes. You can't really mix your Double Fine casual with turn-based strategy, it turns out. Well, honestly, I guess you can. But you're going to end up with this particular game called Massive Chalice. And this game just doesn't sell me on the concept, and it's not light enough. A lot of people in the forums were complaining that it's not deep enough, and it needs more. And I was like, well, I don't know. It's just kind of boring. And as soon as I started realizing I needed to keep a spreadsheet to track who's shagging who in this game, because that's a very important mechanic, believe it or not, my eyes, they just glazed over. I guess what I'm trying to say is this is yet another overly ambitious project from Double Fine that has failed to deliver on all fronts. It seems like it has genuinely irritated both camps. So, that said, I'm going to give it one share. I did not enjoy it.
Well, the combat is really the game's strong suit. They did a really good job of ripping off XCOM Enemy Unknown's formula, and I mean that gameplay was pretty spot on. So the carbon copy of this is also fairly spot on, though it can get a bit repetitive at times. One thing I will note: playing this game for an hour feels like playing it for 20 minutes. So it's a pretty easy time sink as far as getting your money's worth in terms of gameplay. The breeding mechanic, which is critical because your fighters age in real time. They'll die, they'll grow old. You gotta pair them off. So you gotta pump out babies constantly, and it's very obtuse. I get that you're supposed to figure out what it is through multiple playthroughs, but I breed competitive Pokemon, and it's nowhere near as stupid as this. Where you have to match up the various traits and whatnot.
That is generally the nerdiest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
the nerdiest analogy ever.
I play competitive Pokemon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so go fuck yourselves. The breeding mechanic, you have to go through a bunch of menus to figure out who does what. It could have been incredibly streamlined, isn't. But I mean, I enjoyed myself playing it. I didn't hate the game. It's not a terrible game. It's just meh. 2 chairs.
Yeah, my favorite part of both this game and XCOM is the combat. The micromanagement and bullshittery that you have to do in between missions never really appealed to me. This game seems to place even a heavier focus on said bullshittery than XCOM did. And I don't know, I think the combat kind of suffers for it. Maybe it's because the combat itself and the game itself is not as hard as XCOM, or maybe just spend most of their time on fucking by the numbers, quote unquote. And the combat was kind of second thought. Maybe. I suppose that if XCOM was a solid 4 chairs for the fun, this game should get 3, but it doesn't. I played all the way through the game today. I got to the final mission. And the final mission, they started out by saying, oh, we need to call the Cadence here in order to set off a chain reaction. What that actually means is we're going to spawn you in a room with 0 cover and a shit ton of monsters that just run at you and say, have at, bitch. So, the game all the way up to that point was competent. But as soon as it hit that stupid last mission, I'm not even going to bother going back and trying it out. Because I tried it, I failed it, I still got to see, an ending cutscene of the Chalice getting corrupted by the Cadence, and then the credits rolled. So, as far as I'm concerned, I finished the damn thing. 2 chairs.
Alright, so that's 1 chair for fun, and we tally everything up, and this results in a 2-chair game for Massive Chalice from Double Fine. Final thoughts?
If you don't like turn-based strategy, this will not change your idea organ. at all. Full disclosure, they gave us keys for this game, as Double
Long
Fine
time
often
ago.
does.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're brilliant at that.
back when it was in early access. Yeah.
And to their credit, you know, we've reviewed several of their games, and they continue giving us keys whether or not we like the game or not. So, I mean, they are that type of company. They're a fine young bunch of cannibals. So.
Of doubles, I suppose.